Talk about all of this and more with Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts, Jake Auchincloss. He's a Marine Corps veteran, served as an infantry commander in Afghanistan, now serves as a major in the reserves. Thank you for your service, and both, as I mentioned, and now in Congress. And let's just begin with what the president said last night, the choice of the words semi-fascism. And I should be clear, referring to a part, right, an extreme part of the Republican Party. But, you know, you've talked a lot about bipartisanship. The president used the term unity a lot in his State of the Union address. And I just wonder what you make of the message from him yesterday.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. The most important word that the president used was the word choice. That's what November 2022 is about. It's a choice between the Democratic Party that has passed legislation to lower health care costs, taken the biggest climate action in history and passed once-in-a-generation infrastructure investment, or a Republican Party that is in lockstep to wind back the clock 50 years and deprive women of access to reproductive rights and to arm teachers in response to our epidemic of gun violence.
So, as I mentioned, the president's poll numbers are going up a little bit, still at 40%, though his team would like to see him a lot higher. But there are some of your fellow Democrats in Congress who say it's time for a new candidate in 2024, that he's not the best candidate for the party in the next presidential election. You have said, you told Yahoo News recently, not specifically about this, but in general, quote, "I'm ready for generational change." How should we understand that? And do you believe that, but also believe that President Biden is the best candidate for your party in 2024?
Yes, is the short answer. I'm
yes
one of the youngest
both?
members of Congress. I am hungry for generational change. I think that is shared across my generation, not just in politics, by the way, but in business and media and nonprofit work. We are hungry to take the reins and show what we can do, just like the baby boomers were able to do in their era. But we have to recognize that President Biden is a strong leader for this moment. He is standing in the abyss right now against Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans who are not committed to the institutions of democracy and who are not committed to action on climate change and who are not committed to common sense gun safety regulations and who are not committed to protecting women's reproductive rights. This is not a referendum on Joe Biden in 2022. This is a choice, and the choice for the American people is clear.
The biggest unilateral move, in dollars-wise, that the president has made in his presidency in terms of executive action came this week with canceling about $300 billion in student loan debt. And as you know, it was not applauded by every Democratic representative in Congress. In fact, there was a lot of criticism on the left. Tim Ryan said it sends a wrong message to millions of Ohioans without a degree working just as hard to make ends meet. You heard Arizona Senator Catherine Cortez Masto say it doesn't address the root problems that make college unaffordable. Maine Representative Jared Golden called it out of touch with the majority of American people. Do you think they're right?
I'm a strong defender of the president. I'm also going to disagree with him where we diverge on policy issues. And on this issue, I would have taken a different approach. So, for example, with that sum of money, we could have relieved all medical debt in this country. That would be more fair, and it would be more progressive in that it would disproportionately help those with lowest income and lowest wealth.
So let's turn to Afghanistan, especially given what today marks. You served in Afghanistan, as I mentioned, and today marks 1 year since the terror attack at the Kabul airport. It killed 13 American service members, as many as 170 civilians. The report out from the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction a year ago found, after $837 billion spent on the war, $145 billion on rebuilding, 2,443 American troops killed. It found, quote, the U.S. government continuously struggled to develop and implement a coherent strategy for what it hoped to achieve, and it found many institutions and infrastructure projects the United States built were not sustainable. The reality on the ground, as we saw from our correspondent Clarissa Ward, is that you've got 90% of the country, according to the UN now, not even having enough food, not to mention what has happened to women and girls in Afghanistan with the Taliban in control. Having served there and fought for this, on a day like today, what do you make of what we see now?
The United States is in a stronger position now than it was a year ago when we left. We've freed up resources and bandwidth to focus on the threats from China and Russia. And as you indicated, what President Biden inherited in 2021 was nothing short of a catastrophe. He did not have a good choice to make. He had a bad choice and a worse choice. And after 20 years in which American politicians and the national security establishment had dissembled to the American people, President Biden made the hard, high-integrity choice to tell the American people the truth. We could not win that war in Afghanistan, and he exited. We, though, must acknowledge that Afghanistan, of course, is struggling. We must remain the largest humanitarian donor to Afghanistan, and we need to put them on a path towards economic self-sufficiency.
Are you surprised at what you're seeing there, the rapid deterioration on the ground for so many?
The Taliban's brutality will never surprise me, having been there in 2012. But we cannot let despair be a strategy. We must invest in Afghan mining in particular. It has significant loads of copper, lithium, rare earth elements, lapis lazuli, and Western mining could do what Western militaries never could, which is put the Afghan people on a path of sustainable self-development and also help America secure our clean energy supply chains in the face of Chinese expansionism.
Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thanks for your time today.
Appreciate it.